Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Yes, your wig-free friend tonight.
Tonight,
I am wig-free.
So,
apparently nothing bad ever happens when I'm not wearing a wig. So, good to see y'all, folks, and we have a very special guest tonight.
We do. We are going to start out the gate right out of, this was a huge weekend. WWE has their first ever all-women's pay-per-view Evolution. So, of course, you guys have heard me mention the kid on the show a lot. It happens. So we always talk about how she's a big Bellas fan. She's a big Divas fan. Miz and Maurice, all that stuff. So she was interested in the Evolution. So I said, hey, Myron, here's what we'll do. We'll get the kid. We'll get Kaitlyn. She's the middle kid, as we always call her. She wanted to watch Evolution. She wanted to join the show. She wanted to get involved. So what did we do, Myron? We brought her on.
Right here.
Absolutely. Yep. Kaitlyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we actually thought we would get a woman's perspective. Is that the word I'm looking for, Myron? I'm stumbling with
I think
Myron.
that's the closest thing we can get to the right word is a women's perspective. Our view or shoot or take, or whatever they call it in the business these days.
Yeah.
Because we hear enough opinions from male on this women's evolution, right?
Yes, and the only people talking about it like that you hear are men, male podcasters. Now, thank God, Renee Young is a regular commentator. You get more and more women's opinions, but for the most part, the only people really getting all over Twitter and Facebook are guys.
Okay, I've got a question for both of you. Then I'm going to ask right out of the gate. The card. I mean, as far as I don't want to talk about just the card yet. I want to talk about the presentation. For one, it had a very old school feel because I know Kaitlyn mentioned it to me when she watched it. It was dark on all except the light was onto the ring. That's very 80s wrestling.
Yep.
And then, of course, everybody wanted to crap on it and say, oh, that's because they're hiding all the empty seats, right? Okay, first of all, that was baloney. I think, in my opinion, that it focused, what I told her, and I'm saying now is the same thing. The light spot, just the spotlight on the ring drew all the attention just to the ring and the action going on.
And that's a classic wrestling presentation. And that makes you, because you've been to shows in the last, 10, 15 years where they don't turn the house lights down and it's bright the whole show. And it's a much better presentation to me when the focus is on what's in the ring.
Yeah, I agree. I've been watching before and I'm like, hey, did you just see that? What just happened in crowd? Someone just lifted their baby over the guardrail and it's just distracting from what's actually happening.
And that's something that I said there. I said, when you go to a Raw or you go to the pay-per-view, there's beach balls, there's the wave, there's signs. The crowd's trying to get over. They couldn't. You couldn't see them.
Yeah. I did see someone promoting their Twitch though on a poster, and I was like, not a bad idea.
No, definitely not.
Speaking of which,
get it out there.
We have a Twitch.
We have a Twitch.
Yeah,
we have some good stuff on the Twitch coming up.
Yeah, Tapped Out Pod. Check it out on Twitch. We'll plug it here since Kaitlyn put it there for us. So overall presentation, first, Kaitlyn, I'll let you start. What was, as far as the look of the show, what was your take on that? And then we'll go into the card.
The look of the show, I noticed obviously it was a little smaller than normal. Looked a little different as far as the ring. I don't know, just it seemed a little different than normal, the setup. But I liked it. It was pretty good.
Commentary, did you like the commentary staff?
With Renee Young, I actually mentioned that earlier. I thought she did really well. Like I said, I'm a fangirl for Beth Phoenix, so of course, love that. And I think Michael Cole obviously did well.
Yeah. I love Renee Young on commentary, and I'm not going to say that I was not hesitant about women in commentary. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. But she actually is the best commentary person they have right now.
You think she's better than Corey?
Corey's different. Corey's the heel commentator. They work together, but she's she's more face and Corey's more heel. So they're kind of necessary to have two different people. So it's different. What they do is completely different, even though it's the same. They're at the same table.
And I think that the Beth Phoenix Renee Young mix, they not having the heel, I think was appropriate for this card.
For this card, yes, because you let the people define who was the heels and the faces, and you didn't have to have the wrestlers put it over.
Well, you didn't. To me, what was nice about it is you didn't have to have the heel announcer kind of beaten down on anybody. They let everybody shine to their max, and they put it. Even the heels got put over by the commentators. As far as the talent. And Cole just steers the ship. Let's be blunt. That's what he does. No, and that's not negative. Everybody always say, when I say that, they go, "Oh," I'm like, no, I don't mean that bad. I mean, Vince is in his ear because, by the way, for all the people who like the crap on Vince McMahon, we heard that Vince McMahon ran Gorilla for Evolution. So
he did?
Yes, it was not Triple H. It was Vince. That was Vince's show.
Was that Gorilla?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So crap on him all you want. It was his, and I think they're, I've heard Stephanie mention this might be an annual thing.
Yeah.
We can get this, Evolution pay-per-view yearly. I think that's a pretty cool thing. And so Vince isn't out of touch as everybody would like to believe. I mean, I think he did, if he did all of, I'm sure Triple H, don't get me wrong, had a lot to do with it. But I was really impressed with the overall presentation. I actually liked the blue lighting. I know some people crapped on that. I like the lights being down on the crowd because the crowd was, I don't mean irrelevant in the sense that they weren't distracting. And just top to bottom, I thought the presentation was good. But now I'll ask, we'll start with Kaitlyn again. All right, what was if you had your highlights, what's the best match? What were you most impressed with? Just the card itself.
I actually really, really enjoyed the Riot Squad versus Natty Bailey and Sasha. And the reason is, obviously, I really like the Riot Squad because, as they mentioned during the show multiple times, they are the most cohesive partners that there probably are right now. They work so well together. And I don't watch Raw and SmackDown every single week. However, when I've seen it sometimes, as far as the other tag team went, sometimes they just seem random. And it doesn't really seem like it fits. But Natty, Bailey, and Sasha, it didn't seem so random, and it worked. It seemed to work better and flow more naturally. So that was one that I really liked. And obviously Charlotte and Becky, which we can get into later. But, yeah.
Question. How about the Battle Royal?
I really liked it, and my favorite moment from the whole thing was when the past and the present was circling in on the past. I don't know why I loved it so much because the past was all the wrestlers from when I was a kid, and then now it's just the new badass, just super, super empowering woman. So I don't know. I like the moment.
Yeah, I thought battle royals can be absolute shit, even with top tier men's talent that have experience in battle royals. And the battle royal at where was that battle royal at? The first one, that's at Royal Rumble.
Yeah, the first women's Rumble.
Okay, that one had a lot of flaws because you could tell women didn't have battle royal experience, so they didn't know what to do all the time. To throw. They'd never thrown anybody over a top rope like that before. Yeah. This one was very smooth in comparison to the first one. I thought it was really good. It was a really good battle royal. It had a lot of different high spots, which are hard to get because a battle royal has to be very well coordinated to get good high spots out of. And I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And you got to see a lot of good talent doing things. And they couldn't shoehorn every single woman onto a card in a match because they had some huge matches on that card.
Oh, the card was stacked. I agree. Yeah. From top to bottom, I will put this card up, and I know this sounds silly. Take out WrestleMania. I put this card up against, as far as from top to bottom, with all of them.
Yeah.
I think it was
incredibly strong card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Forbes magazine actually had an article about this, and it said one of the least promoted cards they've had is probably the best one they've had all year.
You know who, to me, and I can never cease to be surprised by her, with Alexa out, they had to have, her name just
Alicia
lost
Fox.
me. Alicia Fox sub in for her. And she was no slack. She did great. She every time I see her, it's like, why isn't she featured more prominently? Her character's a little weird, but I mean, she's a really great worker. She makes it believable. She looks believable out there.
Do you know what Alicia? And then we'll come back with the next topic for Kaitlyn. But I want to bring up about Alicia Fox. Do you know what she's the true sign of?
What's that?
The depth of the women's roster.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in my opinion, 5 or 6 years ago, she would have had to have been on top because she would have been one of the best women they had. Now they're so deep that even her, as talented as she can be, she's hidden. She's below the rest.
Yeah. How about Tamina Snuka coming back and actually doing really well? When you hadn't seen her in forever.
She just recovered from a surgery now, like a shoulder surgery 9 months ago, I think is what they said.
Yeah, she was very believable. She did a very good job. I enjoyed her work. And I never have thought that much of Tamina Snuka before, but she did real well out there.
So I think we're heading to a Tamina-Nia feud at some point, which will be
either a feud or a team. Either they're going to be the new Samoan SWAT team or they're going to have one of the biggest, nastiest women's feud ever.
I think it's a team.
Nah, it's got to be a feud.
I would hope it's a team. I'm over Nia by herself as single.
Yeah, Kaitlyn told me she wasn't a big fan of Nia winning the Battle Royal.
Not a big fan of Nia winning the Battle Royal, huh?
No,
that's because she was the most obvious winner.
No, her character, everything I just don't see that much depth into her. Like, her character only goes so far, and I feel like the angle can only be played so much. Like, yeah, like you're this Amazon, okay. Like, I don't know, she doesn't go over with me.
Okay, I can get what you're saying. It might be she goes over with me because I just think so much of her. I just love Nia Jax, and I might not look at her character development as hard and as harshly as I should.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into. I know there's lots of solid matches. I mean, we can't go through them all because that's not what we do here. We don't go match by match. Toni Storm looked great. Shayna
won the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, I mean, shines like a star. She's going to be a star. She's in the NXT UK brand, which you can catch on the network now.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, super excited about that going forward. I know Kaitlyn was making some comments about Shayna Baszler in the NXT match. I'm going to be honest, this is the first time that I've seen Shayna Baszler at all, even with her previous MMA stuff. And when she walked out, I was like, wow. Like, this is badass right here. Yeah,
you legitimately think she could beat anyone's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And this is actually, I said to myself, this is what I see Ronda Rousey as. Mm-hmm. Honestly, just like that level of intensity.
Well, they've done so much different with Ronda Rousey because they've taken her, she's the legit badass, and they've taken her and made her a marketable character who goes out and has actual women's matches where she's not just bowling over everybody like I thought she was going to do when she was introduced.
Yeah.
So it's a good mix they're doing with her. And I think they've made her marketable, and I think they've made her into something. She just got her first action figure. I think they've made her into something that's got a lot of potential.
And of course, her and Nikki, they main event the card. We're going in out of order here for an obvious reason here. My notes were basically Rousey and Nikki Bella were a typical, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, a typical WWE main event. They gave you what the WWE gives you to end the show.
Yeah.
Babyface goes over, got a little gaga with Brie involved, et cetera, et cetera. Ronda gets the win. Everybody goes home happy. We get to go off. The show goes off the air with Ronda and all the women of Evolution standing on the stage. Blah 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 blah. We all clearly know that. Did you have anything specific you wanted to talk about that match? Because I know what everybody wants to hear us talk about.
Ronda and Nikki. So like you said before, I am the biggest Brie and Nikki advocate. I love them. I follow them religiously on social media. Total Divas, Total Bellas, all that good stuff. And I was actually kind of disappointed with this match. I don't know, it just didn't really do anything for me. It wasn't that exciting. The Bellas do a really good job as Mean Girls, but like I said, I don't particularly like Ronda as that baby face, but just not my cup of tea.
Well, the thing is, she's such a good baby face right now. Her heel turn will be epic when it happens. It's going to be the best heel turn ever in women's wrestling.
Because we got a little bit of a tease of the four horsewomen of MMA and the Baszler match, so maybe that's coming down the road.
Yep.
We will see, but like you said, if anything, that's when we get that, and it might be a Rumble or something like that. I don't know, but let's be honest, guys. There's one thing, and only one thing that stood out. I mean, head and shoulders above everything else on this card, and it quite simply was Becky and Charlotte in the last woman standing match. Exactly. Match of the night, no question. We ran a poll, ran away with it, not even close.
And
that match was scary.
It was, and it wasn't even just for women that was scary. That was just in general, and I think it's really a big part of the whole Evolution pay-per-view is like, this is not just a big deal for women, it's just good matches in general. And it's just
tables, ladders, and chairs.
Yep.
In a women's match.
Mm-hmm.
And canes.
Yes. It was by far the most extreme thing they've ever done with the women on WWE.
I'm going to cut you and ask you a question. Would you say, because I would, more brutal than the Hell in a Cell that Sasha and Charlotte did?
Yes. I would agree with that. I would agree with that 100%. Also, it did the best thing they possibly could, is it elevated Becky to the point where you think she's a believable opponent to really put Ronda Rousey over later on down the road. She's a badass. And she's the person that's going to go over. And the bit they did, hi, champ. How you doing, champ? To me, that was one of the coolest things I've seen on wrestling in a long time.
They set it up, man. They announced it on Monday night. I mean, we're going to get Survivor Series. We're going to get Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be a regular, when I say regular, you know what I mean? It's a regular match. But I think Becky, Charlotte could too, obviously. But Becky is going to be the first step to, I think, making Ronda look really, really good.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
That's, like I said, it was match of the night. And I actually tweeted, as soon as that match was over, I just tweeted out, like, good luck following that. I know Ronda and Nikki were going to come out and do what they could do. And it had heat. I mean, it had the,
well,
Rousey's
you knew what
over.
you were going to get with the Ronda and Nikki match. It's just the way it is. You knew what you're going to get out of that match.
Yeah.
You weren't going to get what you got with Charlotte. I mean, in Charlotte Flair, Jesus Christ. Amazing every time you see her.
I agree. Charlotte Flair, to me, she is the epitome of everything that I think that a woman wrestler should be, and she does it so well. I wish there was a Charlotte Flair when I was 10 years old, so that I could be like, wow, that's women's wrestling.
Yeah.
And some people, argue that that's Becky. A lot of people right now are on the Becky train, and even though she's the heel, they're cheering her and she, putting her over and so forth and so on. So that's, but I mean, if nothing else, let's go ahead and wrap this and say, the evolution, the women's wrestling has come way, down the road from when, back in the day when they were divas, and I tweeted this out, and God bless him, he shared it. I tweeted out that, I interviewed Conrad Thompson a couple of years ago, and we were talking literally about this topic, about women's wrestling and where it's going.
Yep.
And now where it was going 2 years ago. And, I just wasn't, because they were talking about doing Money in the Bank matches at that time. I wasn't a fan of women getting in there with ladders because they're just so unforgiving. And I didn't, you know, and I said, I don't mean it with any disrespect. They just don't physically have the padding, you know, I mean, on their bodies, you know, to take that kind of, I didn't, you know, so I wasn't a fan of it, but I actually tweeted out, you know, I talked to Conrad about this. I wasn't a fan then, but Becky and Charlotte changed my mind. Damn. That was literally my tweet. And Conrad, you know, liked it, retweeted it, got it out there. And I'm like, dude, if they have taken wrestling, women's wrestling so much further than, let's be honest, Myron, we never thought we would be here.
No. Now, I'm not going to, look, let me go ahead and say, I know women on the indies have been doing this stuff for a while, and more power to them. I think that's great. I think they're the front runners. They're the people who've actually been out there doing stuff in the trenches. But that's on a WWE pay-per-view that is entirely women's wrestling. And that's an endorsement of the highest thing you can get in wrestling. Is when the WWE has enough faith in them to give them their own pay-per-view and then let them do that crazy shit. That's awesome. It validates all the work all the women have been out there doing in bingo halls and gymnasiums for years. Kudos and thank you.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, you know, we had the pay-per-view coming up. I just wanted to have Kaitlyn on, let her wrap that, kind of go over it with it. Because, I mean, you know, it's one thing for us as like you said, just old guys who've been wrestling fans for a long time to talk about it, but have somebody who, as a female, grew up in the pudding and, bra and panties matches, and now, you know, years later, to see women in the, you know, literally having their own pay-per-view.
Yeah.
What a change, right?
Presented like a legitimate product, not a sideshow, like a legitimate wrestling product.
And think about the intensity in a lot of those matches. Tony Storm, you know, the Mae Young Classic, the NXT match, the Charlotte, you know, the Becky match. I mean, the Rousey, Nikki Bella match. All of them high intensity, high solid matches. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, well, luckily she doesn't want to sit. She's not going to have to sit through the rest of this. We brought her in just for the Evolution pay-per-view wrap up. We appreciate Kaitlyn coming on for a few minutes and joining us. So, Kaitlyn, you got anything before you get out of here?
No, I'm just happy to see where women's wrestling has come and hopes that it keeps going forward.
All righty. Well, we appreciate it. We're going to jump into the rest of it, but Kaitlyn's going to take off, and then we're going to jump right into the rest of the week in wrestling.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Well, after, you know, Evolution went off the air, I know you really wanted to talk about what followed. House of Hardy, man. I'll let you go on about this one because you loved it.
I loved it. I love everything they do, and it actually was far out wacky, old school. I guess you got to call it TNA type wacky. They had the people that did the original Hardy stuff on there. It was great. You know, it's something that only Matt and Jeff can do, particularly Matt and his family and his animals. You just don't get that kind of stuff. You don't get it on anybody else. It's a unique created product. It was amusing. It was silly. It was captivating. You got a lot of guys that I've seen wrestling and I've met at shows. You got John Schuyler. You got the Carnies. A lot of people that are actually wrestling people in just regular wrestling people in North Carolina were on there. You got Hurricane Helms, who's probably one of the coolest people in the business. Everything I've ever seen about Hurricane Helms has been great. You got the Voodoo, what's his
Papa Shango, Godfather.
Papa Shango, you got Godfather, and you got Matt and the Boogeyman exchanging green beans for worms. That was insane. I mean, how seriously? You can't get that on any kind of other television show unless the Hardys are involved.
I'm happy. You know, Matt's got a creative output.
Yes.
I'm a fan of the product. I hope this is a regular thing. You know, when we say regular, 8 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, then we see something maybe like a second season down the road or whatever.
Yeah.
I know you had mentioned he's saying he's coming back. But this is a good way to keep him busy while he recuperates.
Yeah, it's a good thing because, you know, he's so good at this. It's so good at it, and it's not going to get his body beat up. And he does something that's really entertaining and sportsy entertainment. You know, it gives you a chance to appreciate his talents outside the ring. So it's a good thing, and I really hope to see more of it. And it's a good thing to see Jeff a little bit more relaxed and not jumping off stuff.
Well, and if nothing else, it's great content for the network. I mean, it's just other reasons to have the network. I mean, because, they don't already give you pay-per-views. They don't already give you other content. They don't already give you originals. And then I know a lot of people complain about some of these special events like Super Showdown, and of course we're about to talk about Crown Jewel. I just don't think too much content really isn't something to complain about because it's the network. Buddy of ours, Greg, over at DDT Archives, he actually made a comment of he went to bed after the Charlotte Becky match because he was like, "That's the great thing about the network. My night is done."
Yeah.
I'll go back. He goes, I'll go back. He goes, I'll watch the other thing. He goes, I'll watch Rousey and Nikki before Raw tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll just become part of Raw.
Well, I got jacked up. I was late because I was doing a talk with David McKinney for the Shoots Fired show. And so I didn't get started till late, and somehow I wound up, the first match I saw was Shayna Baszler in that match. And it's like, okay, well, and then I had to go back, and I don't know what happened to I had to wait till it was like 11 o'clock to finish out watching the stuff I hadn't seen. But I still got to watch a pay-per-view that was live at my leisure, basically. I didn't have to just like, if I couldn't see it, well, you just can't see it. And that's the best thing about the network.
Yeah. Well, of course, now the network's creating a little controversy right now. We do have Crown Jewel coming up. It's a sold-out show, by the way. Did you hear? Sold out really quick. I was like, I thought it was a paid show. I thought the tickets were going to sell out anyway.
Yeah, they buy all the tickets. The only people that sell them were the Saudis, so it could be like, we're sold out. There's nobody checking on the ticket, like the ticket sales and all that. Dave Meltzer is not going to be there, like making sure like there's somebody in every seat. It's their show. They say what they want to. Yeah. That's pretty much what happened.
It sold 25. The building holds 25,000. It sold out. There's 25,000. It's sold out 25,000 strong. The big thing, I get it. There's a lot of controversy about this show.
Yeah.
And first, we'll go ahead and say first and foremost, WWE, John Cena, Daniel Bryan, both. The rumors were going around. They basically are not going, and they're not going to work that show. So everybody's going into this week saying, how do we get out of it? Or how do they get out of it? It's not us, it's them.
Yep.
And I think they did a fine job. Bobby Lashley.
They worked through that real well.
Bobby Lashley gets a shot because John Cena didn't qualify to begin with. Daniel Bryan gets out. He still gets his match on SmackDown. Comes up short against AJ Styles. Phenomenal match. Pun intended, I guess. I didn't mean to, but but did we expect anything less?
No.
And then, of course, Joe interferes, so now we're getting Joe versus AJ again at Crown Jewel. I'm okay with it. I think they did a really good job of getting them involved.
And so you basically get dream matches on free TV.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I don't think anybody, well, there are. Wrestling fans will complain about and I won't say wrestling fans aren't complaining about the card, but they are. Because they're complaining about DX and Brothers of Destruction, which I may have a rant at the end of the show about wrestling fans.
As my beloved grandmother said, you wouldn't be happy with a gold butthole. And that describes wrestling fans the best way I can do it.
Yeah. Pretty much. I just want to clarify and say, like, I get it. I admire John Cena and Daniel Bryan for taking their stance. And
they have their convictions.
Absolutely. I totally understand. However, JR came out this week and, it was a podcast or it was on the cruise, I can't remember. And he made the comment, and I'm going to ask you, there's no right answer to this, to go or not.
Because you have to understand where everybody's situation is. It's one thing to say John Cena doesn't go, but it's another thing to say, Carlos Colon doesn't go. because he needs money to feed his family. And
well,
how much are
Dolph Ziggler?
Dolph Ziggler. Okay, look at Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I'm sure he's done fine for himself over the years, but he's not John Cena or Daniel Bryan. He probably can use the money. It's good money. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal payday, and people don't look to him as some kind of moral arbiter. He's just a guy on a wrestling show, so it's not going to hurt him to do the show. And like I said, he's a wrestler. He's not a. Well, he actually does do Fox News or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, here's my take on when I say you got to really be careful about, because there's two sides to every story. As JR put it, you know, you may have your beliefs of like, I wouldn't go, which is fine. I always jokingly say one of the problems with our country is everybody likes to draw a line in the sand, doesn't want to understand, like, what I believe is right. If you do anything different, you're wrong. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, JR made the comment of, he went last time. He did go to the greatest Royal Rumble. And his words were, I got paid very, very, very well. 3 varies, by the way. Yeah. And said, what I got paid for that show, I would have never paid anyone when I was in the position that was doing the payoffs for those shows.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right then and there, he's basically saying, I would have never been dumb enough to pay somebody that kind of money. You know what that means? They're making the money to afford to pay somebody that kind of money. And then the flip
it's good
side,
for the boys.
Well, there's the catch. JR made a joke about Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know. I mean, Braun Strowman, he may need the money. Shawn Michaels might need that $1 million or whatever the rumors is he's making, right? Yeah. Who are we to judge somebody to say, you should turn down $1 million to go wrestle a show because on principle I don't agree with it?
But here's a question, and this is something that comes up frequently in my career. Have you done something you didn't believe in just because you knew it would make you money and you needed the money, or you needed your family needed the money, or your kids couldn't eat your principles? You know, you ever set a table full of principles to feed your children? I'm sorry, but that's just the cold hard truth. It's the real world where people are out actively involved in a situation are different from people opining on the internet about what they would do in a situation they've never been in. Okay? And that's just the honest, straight up truth. Let's take an average fan off the street, give them $1 million to do something they don't believe in, and see if they turn it down.
Right. And you know, the whole stance has been, we're trying to make a change here. We're trying to be a tool to slowly make change. And if you don't think they are, let's sit at the table, the announcer's table. Renee Young is going to be on the announce team.
That's a big deal.
It is. Now, let me ask you a question. Is that a big middle finger from Vince to the world?
I think it's the best thing Vince can do that wouldn't totally ruin a big money deal, but show the world that he is committed to making change. You know, Triple H was the one that came up with the story about this is more important for going over to Saudi Arabia to show them the influence of change and what it is like and try to help spread. You know, that wasn't quite believable. But when they put Renee Young on commentary, it looks a lot more believable. You know, it looks like they're the agents of change now when they're putting a woman on the commentary show. Now, how that's going to go over, don't know what to tell you. What she's going to be able to do, don't know what to tell you. Oh, I just have to see how it goes. If she's not even allowed to talk and just have to sit at the table quietly wearing a beanbag over her head, that's one thing.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to put her at commentary if she can't talk, right?
Well, you never know, man. It's just, you never know.
Weirder things have happened in the WWE, yes. That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Mae Young gave birth to a hand.
That is true. That is true. But hey, we hope it works. I mean, I get it. You know, a lot of people want to, like I said, they want to get on their moral high horse, and I understand it. I always tell people, if that's the hill you want to die on, absolutely, I can understand. Totally. do your thing. I mean, but WWE is a business. They're a company. They got stockholders to answer to. They got employees to answer to. If their business takes a hit, they're going to release wrestlers.
Yeah.
I mean, stockholders, if stocks are down, then heads are going to roll, right? I mean, it's going to happen.
And a lot of things they're planning on doing in the future probably hinges on the amount of money they're going to make on these shows. They wouldn't be going to these shows if they weren't doing, making a lot of money. So
everybody likes to crap. Ratings are down. They're finding other avenues to generate the revenue, to keep their business prosperous. Crown Jewel's one. And hell, let's talk about the other one real quick while we're here. The Mixed Match Challenge doing pretty well overall. That you were telling me
over 2.5 million views an episode, which is a pretty big deal for something that just they play an episode of mixed matches, which typically haven't done anything on Facebook Watch, which is typically not something you expect to go see wrestling or not something you'd see as a marketable commodity. That's pretty awesome.
I just think they've done a pretty good job of putting those teams together overall. I know there's a couple here that people don't like. There were injuries that caused some changes. But overall, they've done a good job. And just like I said, it's probably another sweet deal. They just pulled something out with Facebook. I mean, a social media company to air a match, a week, and God only knows what they're making on it, right?
Yep. I mean, 2.5 million people, if you look at the viewer average, what's it, maybe 15 minutes at most? Any show would be doing good to get 2.5 million people on a 15-minute segment and the Nielsen ratings.
Well, Raw didn't draw 2.5 million, this week.
Yeah, and that goes over to some of the other stuff we talk about.
I mean, stuff happens, but I'm saying, to get, we were saying we know some are at 500,000, some are at 5 million, blah, 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 which is why we say the average is 2.5 million. Yeah. I mean, whatever. But some things work. It's social media, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media, real quick,
it's free.
Yeah. We don't have to pay for it. It's not on cable.
Yep.
So, that being said, that's some of the good they're doing. Let's jump to some of the not so good news from WWE. This week, they kind of got a bad rap. I don't know if it's a bad rap, but I do. I think it's a bad rap, and I'll tell you why when we get going.
Okay.
Reports came out that WWE was trying to keep Rey Mysterio off of the Jericho cruise. It was all stems from he told him it was a pre-existing commitment before he signed his contract. He wanted to go. The trip was Saturday through Wednesday. He wasn't booked on house shows, so there wasn't really anything with that. So really the only conflict was going to be SmackDown.
Well, he was booked on the show before he signed. And so if they booked him on shows after he signed, that's not cool. He had a deal. He signed a commitment. And they've always traditionally respected those commitments.
Yes and no.
Okay.
They typically sign the contracts and they let you get all your bookings out of the way before you start.
Okay.
The concern that I could probably see them having is, does Rey have the restraint not to wrestle? If he was booked to wrestle, once he's on the boat, does he wrestle on the Jericho cruise? You know what I mean? And that
in international waters,
right? And that's kind of why I'm like, I can see some of the concern, but whatever. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Jim Ross wasn't happy about it.
Well, no, he crapped on, and I'm totally understand. I mean, I get it, and that's the thing. I always tell people, I understand. I understand both sides of the equation. They just invested a shit ton of money in it, and they don't want him hurt.
Yeah, and he's not exactly, 22 years old anymore.
Well, I mean, he's got knee issues. I mean, or whatever, so.
And he's got a kid that's old enough to start talking about. I mean, to start talking about getting onto WB. Okay, so he's not a young man, and what are they going to be able to get out of him? Who knows? So they want to be able to keep him healthy. I get that.
Well, clearly he listened. He didn't wrestle. They got to the Bahamas on Monday. Apparently he got put on a plane there, and he got back because he was here in Atlanta. Did for the SmackDown taping live show. He was there, so kudos. I guess they got it all worked out. Amen.
Yeah.
Other things that went down on this cruise, I do want to mention, I know a lot of the, Ring of Honor, New Japan, that whole world is in a buzz about what's going on with the Young Bucks and Cody and Kenny Omega and, contracts are coming up. Are they going to the WWE? Or there was the whole stink about the Bullet Club shirts. They made the announcement that they were doing their final Bullet Club shirts. Well, on the cruise, all of this is finally explained. Basically, in an interview on the cruise, they say, they're just not in the Bullet Club anymore. They're not members of the Bullet Club. The fans have organically just separated the elite, from the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
The Bullet Club is the Japanese, over in New Japan, the team over there, Tama Tonga, etc. They were calling themselves the OG, Bullet Club. Yeah. Now I believe they're the Bullet Club. The group that you're used to as the elite on being the elite on YouTube, that's your team. But going forward, where are they heading? Well, I still think they're going to end up doing their Ring of Honor. They're going to be indies, all over the place. I still believe ultimately that's where they end up.
They're going to be doing different things. They're going to be basically inventing themselves like they did with social media and continuing to come out with new. I'm not just talking about new wrestling stuff. I mean, they're doing different things that you've never seen wrestlers do before. And I think that's great. I think it's great to see, I'm not Mr. Bucks fan, but I'm going to tell you, I think what Cody and them have managed to do on their own is very impressive. There's all these talks of new promotions and the elite being involved. Maybe we'll see something new. Maybe we'll get something different. Maybe they'll get their own promotion.
Well, that rumor's been going around, but JR shot that one down on the trip, so that was a good
but it's wrestling. It doesn't matter what they say. It matters what actually happens because it's wrestling, and you can't believe how you never know what the difference between a work and a shoot is. How can you take seriously anything somebody? If JR could tell you it's wrestling is only a business where JR could tell you it's not going to happen, and then it happens, but it never hurts his credibility because it's wrestling. People expect that kind of stuff. And I think this new generation of fans are the first people that are really tried to expect wrestling to be 100% like a relatable business that you can trust what people say. But JR is old school. I don't think he'd have any problem at all telling you it's not going to happen and then the next day come out with something, and make it happen. So.
Well, I got an idea. I got an idea where they're not going. And a lot of people are going to hate me for this.
Uh-huh.
Impact Wrestling, God love them. I'm a fan, and I think what's funny. You said something earlier, before we started recording, that it just made me. I didn't laugh but in my head I'm like, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The better they get, the worse they get financially or the situation gets worse for them.
Which is bizarre. They're putting out the better product. They've got better people involved, top to bottom, from inside the ring to backstage. You got really good, smart wrestling brains involved, and they're sucking wind.
So the ratings come in, and here's the crazy thing, and this is one of the things I knew eventually that I would get to, that I would have to vent a little bit on. Impact moved to the new time slot, the 10 p.m. time slot, and we mentioned it last week and the week before. This was going to be bad, and when they moved, it's 98,000 people watched Impact. That's bad. I don't care what anybody wants to say, but everybody wants to go, because I was reading the feed and everybody goes like, well, ratings don't matter anymore. You have to pick your side here. You can't shit. Yeah. And again, I preface this. I think they are better overall as a company, product wise, than they've been in a long time. But you can't crap on WWE's ratings and then defend the ratings for Impact.
Yeah.
I truthfully believe, here's the crazy thing, it's not as bad as you would think in the sense of the word. ratings are down because people just don't freaking watch TV the way we used to watch.
Yeah.
It's DVR, it's apps, it's this, that, and all these things now.
And people don't watch wrestling like they used to. That's just the hard truth of the matter.
There's too much.
Yeah.
But, so like I said, I honestly think the 10 p.m. slot, with all due respect to Impact, I hope something happens for them. I think this is the nail in the coffin on Pop.
Yeah.
98,000 people. Now, again, I don't know what the average viewer, or what the average show's viewing is on Pop. Maybe that's something I got to dig up. Maybe Pop's happy with this number at that time slot and keeps it.
It's not a television contract. It's not a true television contract where you get money to put on a show. They are getting half of the commercial revenue. Okay? So they're getting half of the commercials sold. The commercials for non-prime time shows don't sell for the same price as the commercials for primetime shows. So their revenue is going to drop right there. Even if they sold the same amount of commercials, they can't sell them at the same rate as the commercials for primetime. So that's going to hurt. And then if it's only getting that many viewers, you're going to sell fewer ads. And ratings may not matter, but when you're trying to sell someone on buying an ad on your show, look at us. What's the first thing when people buy ads on our shows, what do they want to know?
How many downloads you get?
Downloads. And I can say downloads don't matter for the genesis of a show and development and what we're doing as a whole, unless we're trying to make ad money. Because as soon as you start trying to make ad money, the first thing I want to know is how many people listen to my ad. Sorry, I love the product, but it's not going to go anywhere if no one will pay to see it. So what happened to the other, basically, 100,000 Impact fans?
They just didn't want to stay. They just didn't want to stay up for 2 more hours to watch it. Dude, I can't lie. I can't 10 to midnight.
No, that's too much.
Now, here's the crazy part. You know what it's called? You lost your East Coast viewer.
Pretty much.
Your West Coast viewers probably stayed because the damn thing's still coming on at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know if that's the way Pop works. Pop may not, work that way. They may have an East Coast feed and a West Coast feed. And then what I mean by that is it may come on at 10 p.m. on both.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I'm not trying to speak out of turn on that. We've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. If with the viewers here, we've already heard things like ICW, Progress, Evolve may end up on the network. We're talking fully functional other companies with just an outlet of somewhere to be on that $15 premium tier for the network. Impact, if they offer it to you, I might take it.
Yeah, if you get here is money to produce a show, which is an actual television type contract. Like the only two people in wrestling today that have legitimate TV contracts are WWE and MLW. Okay? No one else has your typical television contract where a network or a station provides you funding to put on a show.
For the rights, right, exactly.
Yeah. Say WWE comes in and says, here's X amount. Because, they were making, $25,000 an episode, I think, on their previous deal, even when they were in prime time. So, say WWE says, here's $50,000 to produce an episode. How do you turn that shit down? Because you get on the network, and the only people that see your ratings are the WWE. Nobody knows how many people watch NXT except the WWE.
I mean, they put some of those numbers out there. I mean, but it's just a way. Could it be a vehicle? Maybe. You never know. I mean, we'll never know. But I mean, there are other perks. I mean, hell, let's go ahead and talk about it. NXT talents wrestled on the Evolve card and freaking won Evolve titles.
Yeah, and you'd never see anything like that happen in the past. Even when they, you could see some times where WWE and in the old days would put on a show with other promotions. But you haven't seen that in I'm not going to say 100 years, but you know what I mean when I say 100 years. They let the WWE, because, Evolve and WWE have always had a relationship. I don't know how official it was because there's been times where it's like, Gabe Sapolsky says this, Gabe Sapolsky, whatever. But now they put the talent on there and gave them the titles. The Street Profits won the tag team title, and this guy, I don't really even know,
Fabian Acker.
Because I love NXT. I just can't watch. I can't watch that much wrestling. Okay, we're gonna go to 2 live shows this weekend. We had a pay-per-view on Sunday. We had wrestling yesterday, or Raw, and then we had SmackDown tonight, which I have not seen, but just the highlights. How much wrestling can you watch?
I mean, think about it. Crown Jewel's Friday at noon, give or take.
Oh, even add that to it. Okay.
Yeah, we've got 2 shows, which we'll get into in a minute. Then, like you said, there was this Monday, Tuesday was Raw and SmackDown. If you watch Wednesday, that block of 205, NXT, NXT UK. Yeah. And, of course, we had the Evolution on Sunday. I mean, dude, come on. It's just too much. I mean, but all that being said, there's a potential there for them all to work together and be on the network and things like that. I think ultimately that may be where Vince always wanted, was a network that he hosts, that he basically can channel all these wrestling promotions and run them on his network.
He's a new Joe Pedicino.
He is way above Joe Pedicino's pay grade. No disrespect to Joe Pedicino. But I'm a fan. Well, speaking of fans real quick, before we go too far in, we want to give a shout out to Tommy Jordan. He was our new big Patreon patron this week. Big dog. So we wanted to give a shout out to him. Once we get his Twitter handle and all that stuff, we'll give a share and all that kind of follow.
I really appreciate it. So, when it's one thing to have, we go to shows and people say they watch us, and that just always marks me out so much. Or I see a fan in one of our T-shirts, or I see somebody reposting something we've done. I love that. But when somebody gives their hard-earned money for what I'm doing as a passion project, it validates me and makes me feel so proud. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. You've made it to where I can go back and say, look, hey, we've got, nothing against our other patrons. This is a statement. When y'all donate and give money to us, I can go back and say to the people who bit, like my girlfriend who bitch, well, people are paying us now, or, people that don't understand what I'm doing and are like, well, we're making money on this now. And that really is a big deal. Like, my mother doesn't understand what the hell I'm doing. But when I tell her we're getting paid to do it, all of a sudden it becomes legitimate. So, thank y'all.
Well, we definitely appreciate it, man. We really do. Anybody who would spend anything, their hard-earned money on us, total love and appreciation. Tommy, I'll be connecting with you here. Actually, you would have heard from me by now if you're listening to this on a Wednesday. Because, hey, we got a booked weekend. Before we get in there, by the way, we gave a lot of thoughts, opinions, all that stuff today. We always tell you, if you disagree with it, man, we're cool with that. You can DM us at Tapped Out Pod on Twitter, private message us on Facebook at Tapped Out Pod. You can email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. You guys know the routine. Tapped Out Pod is pretty much the home for everything. Even the website, tappedoutpod.com. Check it all out. But we're going to be covered up this weekend, man. Yeah. Covered up.
Yes.
We're going to start with, I'm going to bite my tongue before I say anything. Gary Lamb in Southern Honor Wrestling, man. That's our Friday night. I wanted to call him the shit stir. That's what I wanted to call him. Gary Lamb, but I'm psyched, man. We did not get them. We missed the first show. We're making it a haul up there. Match of the night. I know we talked about this off of the air. AC Mack and Austin Theory, dude. I don't know that it's gonna be off the charts good.
That's an evolved guy right there, Austin Theory. I hate to say he's the shit. I don't mean the bad shit. I mean, that guy is the real deal. That guy is a legitimate, you say, I knew him when he was wrestling on the indies. You come out and see him because you may not be able to see him much longer before he gets a big contract. Okay. This guy's phenomenal.
Yeah. We saw him, when he was because it's been so long. I remember seeing the guy at 19 at Southern Fried, which is where we're going to be Saturday, by the way, which we'll get to in a minute. And I remember walking over to a friend of the show, Terry Lawler, and going, kid's good. Kid's real good at that age, and he's gotten better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
But Southern Honor Wrestling, Canton, Georgia, Friday night. If you're remotely in the area, Alabama, Tennessee, North Georgia, Middle Georgia, hell, we're on the east side and we're driving all the way up.
East side.
Yeah, don't miss this show. We've shared some of the hype videos and the promos. I mean, come on, tonight, Scott Hall gave a plug and shouted out. Diamond Dallas Page was at the show last month for their first show.
Yeah.
So definitely check out Southern Honor Wrestling, Gary Lamb. We love him. We give him shit, but we love him. He knows it. We give him a hard time, but he knows we love him.
He's opened unique avenues for us. Where those avenues go, I don't know, but he's opened.
We're going to find out Friday night, I guess. And then on Saturday night, we're going to turn around after a busy Saturday morning that I've got. I got to work.
I got to work most of the day.
I know, man. That's we might actually have to do that trip separate, which I'll explain to you after off the air.
Well, I mean, it's worth it.
Yeah, but
regardless if I have to hike there, it's still worth it to get the Southern Fried.
Southern Fried, November Rain. By the way, Alan Angels is working at both shows, so we're going to see our buddy Alan both nights, which will be cool.
Yeah.
Because it is his old man, so he's a hoot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we've got. What's the, you've got the main event. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head.
It is Michael Judas, who is all of a sudden showing up at shows everywhere now. Corey Hollis, his tag team partner, versus Rick Michaels and Jacob Ashworth, which probably is the most appealing North Georgia wrestling card you're going to see in a long time. Okay? This side of town, those guys always draw houses. You're going to get to see them together. This is going to be, they say slobber knocker and like just throw that term out there. No, this is going to be a real legitimate slobber knocker. These guys have had matches where the ring has been torn up so they could hurt people. And the bumps that have been taken have been insane. I mean, Jacob was out for quite some time after one of their last matches. This is really, it's bad, scary ass, hard wrestling stuff. You don't typically see a level of intensity like this. And they're they're doing this, man, you can't miss this stuff, folks. Top to bottom, it's a great card all across the board. With some of our favorite people from Drew Blood and Joseph Brock and Brian Kane, who were at Brian Kane and Joseph Brock were at SmackDown tonight, even posting videos.
Nice.
Gotta love those guys.
Absolutely.
Gotta love JB Enterprises.
So basically, hold on real quick. So basically, we're going to clarify. Northwest Georgia, Friday night. East Georgia, you've got Southern Fried on Saturday night. So there's no excuse not to catch a good show this weekend.
And there's more shows actually running besides that, okay? Those aren't the only wrestling shows in the entire state of Georgia running. There's shows all over the place. So if you're in Atlanta, or anyway with an hour drive of Atlanta, and you're a wrestling fan who's not going to a wrestling show on this weekend, it's not wrestling's fault.
Let me put it to you this way. You didn't say it, so I'm going to say it. There are other shows running, but these are the two best. There's a reason why we're going to these two.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We made our picks. We'll put our money where our mouth is, buy our tickets, sit in the stands, and enjoy wrestling. The way it was meant to be.
In Georgia right now, it's Southern Honor Wrestling, and it's Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. That's the hottest promotions going right now.
Yep.
Don't mean the others aren't good.
No.
Anarchy runs a solid product. I mean, Action runs a solid product.
Pay-per-view was great. Yeah. Action is drawing a huge amount of buzz. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan. Okay. It's the best time to be a wrestling fan because you could you don't have to watch wrestling on TV and that's all you get. You can go to shows.
I agree with you, man. We always tell you on your weekend, if you can't, maybe watch one less show on TV, go out to a show with your kids and your family, enjoy yourself, get some interaction with the talent that your kids will remember it. That'll be awesome. It'll be a fun show. It's usually very affordable depending on the promotion that you can go see. And like I said, that's why we picked these two for the money. I think they're probably two of the best in the business, especially, when you're particularly here in Georgia. I would say they are the two best. So go out and check out a show. Myron, I just stole your line. You always say that, but that's true. Get out and enjoy a good card. And, our buddy Lewis, I'll go ahead and tell you this because Lewis needs some love over at the Pro Wrestling Personified podcast. We were talking a little bit, and he has moved from, to in his new area over in Windsor. And he's getting to see a bunch of shows, and he's sending me, I'm going to this show. I'm going to this show.
Those cards are amazing he's getting to see.
Well, that's because, they got a ton of talent there. We're not going to lie. It's another hotbed, so I totally agree. But man, go out and check out a show. Enjoy it. And that's all we're telling people, man. We try not to dog anybody. We try not, we're just telling you, man, go out and enjoy yourself. Find what you like. Quit bitching about wrestling so much. Just, if you don't like it, turn it off. Find something else. Go out and watch a show. It's really that cut and dry. Be positive. Don't be beaten up on, wrestling as a whole. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So, man, you got anything else?
I'm pretty dead, man. We went through all kind of stuff.
Well, shout outs. We appreciate Kaitlyn for coming on, giving us the Evolution recap.
You got a good kid. You ought to be proud of her.
She's all right. I think I'll keep her.
Okay.
Well, man, if I got nothing and you got nothing, what time is it, baby?
It's time to tap out.